The Packers have a short week while we wait for the visiting Philadelphia Eagles on Thursday night. We preview the matchup, including our predictions, and share your feedback next on the Packers Fan Podcast.
It smells like victory yet again. This is your Packers Fan Podcast, the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion, Green Bay Packers. Wayne Henderson here with you, and I'm getting awfully accustomed to seeing the Packers play at Lambeau Field. I kind of wish that every Packers game could be at Lambeau Field. Hashtag no road games.
And I'm Scott Clark, and I'm very appreciative that the Packers won this week because I missed kickoff and didn't want to get blamed. On this 184th edition, recorded September 23rd, 2019, we've got the Packers keeping their 19-0 dreams alive. We'll also continue talking. Did somebody say we've got a defense?
Absolutely, and thank goodness we won. Otherwise, There'd be some blaming and shaming. But,
yes,
we're undefeated. We're also going to have the results of your weekly Twitter and Facebook poll answers. We'll preview the Week 4 matchup, which is just days away, against the Philadelphia Eagles, again, at Lambeau Field. And we'll have your feedback from 920-3PACK-GO. Again, that phone number. Operators are standing by at the voicemail at 920-3PACK-GO. Also from social media. And be sure to check out the show notes. If we talk about anything that might be linked, they'll be at PackersFanPodcast.com. So, how about that victory over the Denver Broncos?
Oh, it felt good, man. I'm always looking for retribution against Super Bowl 32, man. That's, anytime we can do that. And I thought it was interesting. The Broncos have never beaten us at Lambeau Field. I did not know that until I saw that stat on the game this week. That was great.
Same here, and isn't that a shame?
Yeah, no, it's pretty awesome, actually.
I'm just glad that usually when they show stats like that up on the screen, Troy and I have been talking about that for years, the next thing that happens goes against that. Like, Aaron Rodgers hasn't thrown an interception in the fourth quarter in 7 years. Oh,
This is the time to do it, right? So, and because every other stat I felt like was negative for us, and we couldn't have the reverse effect of that. Like, we've had the most missed third down conversions this season or whatever. And I'm like, stop it. Just stop it.
Yeah. And when they showed that stat, we'd only really been through 2 games and maybe the first quarter of this one. It's still so early in the season. Teams are finding their identities, and I'm just thankful that we're 3-0. Stats be damned.
I really want to have access to their database where they come up with these stats, because there has to be so many different algorithms and drop-down boxes and menus to come up with these just weird stats that who thought of that?
Exactly. Because did you know that the third Thursday after the second full moon, when it is in the month of November and the temperature is below 40 degrees, that the Packers often win? Or some ridiculous thing like that.
Some non-factor, but hey, it makes us feel good about it. Whatever gets us the win, man.
Gives Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and the rest of them something to talk about.
Exactly.
I was very happy to see touchdown runs from Aaron Jones. He was just bursting through the line. And the fact we got a TD reception from Marquez Valdez-Scantling. It's always great to see Devontae Adams, don't get me wrong, but it was great to see the wealth spread around a bit.
Well, that's always been Aaron Rodgers' MO is that was another one of those stats that they show how many times he hits each target. And it was almost always evenly balanced, and I feel like we've lost that a little bit. So hopefully that's going to be a key to getting our offense back on the ground, because we sorely need it. I really liked the one run that Jones had where he kind of ran around the right side and hit the corner of the end zone. And he broke a tackle and just snuck right in there. Sneaked right in there. Got to get my fourth grade teacher grammar in there, otherwise I'm going to get yelled at by somebody. It was an awesome run, and I love that we're not just passing the ball, we're running the ball too, and it's really good to see.
But I do admit, Scott, that I do want to see even more running. But I take what we get right now, because we did win. A win is a win, and the fact that our defense just looks so good, that's what we're going to be talking about as long as they keep this up. I mean, they were getting after Joe Flacco all day. There was the strip ball and fumble recovery that gave us the ball in the end zone. That got me super amped up. I believe we had 6 total sacks on the day. So
that's amazing.
I'm sorry, good. Joe Flacco. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. And Jair Alexander just straight up stealing the football right out of Fant's hands. It was like I had to watch that 3 times. Wow. Thievery on the field in a good way.
I love it when it's on our side of the ball.
Yes.
When it happens to us, I just want to pound my head against something, and thankfully it was on our side this time.
Very much so. And, interceptions. We got some interceptions. That was great to see. And more great punting. JK, just kidding, Scott was in fine form again.
We almost didn't get that one interception, though. They didn't even call it. They called it an incomplete pass. We had to challenge it to get it.
Yeah.
It was. I don't get how that one was even thought of not being a catch. It was pretty clear when it happened, and then the replay proved it, and more power to us.
Yes. It's, we were a little iffy on the fact that we could throw challenge flags now in order to get a turnover or a penalty or something like that. But, they only get a certain amount each game, and so it worked out in our favor. So, of course, I was happy. The running game, even though we did get the touchdowns, or a couple touchdowns, here's why I want to see a little bit more. Aaron Jones had 10 attempts for 19 yards. That's 1.9 yards on average, but he did get 2 touchdowns. So that skews it heavily in his favor. So thank you, Aaron. And Jamal Williams had 12 attempts for 59 yards. That's 4.9 yards average. No TDs, but if you can get 4.9 yards on every carry, I say go after it, because, man, he did that one run and then got up and just growled like a wild animal at the camera. It was just awesome to see the energy.
I love football, man. I love it. But yeah, 4.9 average, I can live with that. The 1.9 is a little bit scarier because he's kind of the star there. But mix it up a little bit. We've got a bit of a running game. Let's keep that momentum going and give him a few more chances, because as we're going to talk about in a second, we can't rely on AR-12 as much as we thought we could.
He was still making a few throws that I guess you could call head scratchers.
That's a good way to put it. Like, where were you? What were you thinking? Was it getting rid of it? What's going on?
And on one drive, it was 3 in a row. But, oh well. Still early in the season, and our defense, as awesome as it is, could still work on stopping the run and making better tackles. Just a little bit more.
I was going to say the same thing about tackles. There's a couple, like, what's going on? I think one of their runners ran through like 4 defenders. Like, you got to tackle, guys. And it's easy to say that from my armchair.
Oh, well, of course. But yeah, just the way that, the defender would fly through the air to try to just make a spectacular tackle or grab in midair and just miss completely. And, oh, boy. But, hey, we got out of Lambeau with another victory. And even though it's a short week, I'm thankful we don't have to travel. We can rest up before the games get even more difficult.
Yeah, it's only going to go uphill from here.
So just go, Pack, go. That's all I can say. Let's check in with the listener feedback line at 920-3PACK-GO and see what kind of feedback we got this week after the victory.
Hi, this is Mark from New Lisbon. Another great weekend for football. The Badgers just crushed Michigan. That was so sweet. So you have the Badgers and the Packers undefeated, and we're in late September. That's awesome. I want to talk about the Packer defense. Man, Mike Pettin, people forget this guy was a head coach. He knows what he's doing. There's a lot of talented defenses in the league, but they're not playing as well as the Packers. They're talented and they're well coached. That's a great combination. The number of sacks, I think they're at 10 sacks. The turnover numbers are way up. Their quarterback pressures and the quarterback hits are up. They are just a really good defense. And, people are worried about their offense. I am a little bit, but, they scored 27 points. A lot of that was because of the defense and the turnovers from the defense that gave them a short field. But the upside of the offense is, it's going to come with Rodgers and LaFleur. And people forget that they played 3 of maybe the top 5 defenses in the league with Minnesota, Chicago, and Denver. The only other team I could think of that's better may be the Rams defensively. So they played some really good defenses, and they won all 3 games. It's amazing to be 3-0. And how about the Lions that still undefeated at 2-0-1? So I love LaFleur and Pettin as a coaching combination. They're really good. The offense will come around, as I said. So I was kind of worried that they needed a stud receiver to complement Devontae Adams. but I think they're so focused on running the ball that the passing game is almost secondary. And it was nice to see him run the ball with a lead, because how many games did McCarthy blow because the Packers couldn't run the ball when they had a lead late in the game? And it looks like LaFleur, is just the opposite of that. So I'd like to see him use the tight ends a little more, but I guess Jimmy Graham is on the wrong side of 30. I wish he was 5 years younger, and it could really be that downfield threat that we need. But it's all good. I can't wait for Thursday night, a chance to go 4-0. I have some friends who are Cowboy fans, and we're both anticipating both teams being 4-0 going into that Week 5 matchup in Dallas. So it's all good. Go Pack, go. Thanks for listening, and you guys have a great podcast, and we'll talk to you next week.
Well, I do share the sentiment that I like the idea of going up against Dallas 4-0. I can't, in my right mind, cheer for Dallas at all. It was instilled into me at a young age not to do that. So, Dallas, I just can't do it.
Nope. Can't happen. Won't happen.
I love that he brought up the Lions being undefeated, even though they are 2-0-1 because they got that tie.
Right.
Yes, technically they are undefeated, but that tie can be a deal breaker when it comes to standings towards the end of the season. So I'd rather they had that tie for sure, but than a win. But loss have been better. I always feel guilty when people bring up college football, because as big of a football fan as I am, I know nothing about college football. And being from Wisconsin, you'd think I'd be a Badgers fan, but I just can't get into college football. Are you into it at all?
I know nothing. Other than what I see from Wisconsin, because so many of the people that I follow on Twitter and Facebook will be posting all sorts of things about Wisconsin and Bucky and some of the great things that went on at the game this weekend, the jump dance on the field and all those great things. I mean, it looks fabulous, beautiful stadium, and just everything fun about what football is. But other than that, the players, I agree, Scott, I just don't know, and I'm sorry.
I don't either. Well, they rotate so much more frequently than they do in the NFL. It feels that way because they're in school. But I should try to get into it, because I got some buddies that just go nuts for it. But there's so many teams, it's hard to just land on the one. And even though I'm from Wisconsin, I couldn't tell you a single player's name on the Badgers. But anyway, this is the Packers Fan Podcast, not the Badgers podcast. I love what he said about the defense, and especially about LaFleur's doing things a little bit differently than McCarthy. I still am of the mindset that I don't think McCarthy was as big of a problem as a lot of people think he was. I really like McCarthy quite a bit. So what do you think?
I just don't know. Something was wrong, and maybe it was just the combination just wasn't letting things happen the way that they should. But, we can't look at the past. McCarthy's going to be just fine. He's taking a year off. He's got lots of money. He's having some fun, and he'll probably come back and coach somebody and maybe even play against us. So we'll have to wait and see. But a great point, Mark, that the Packers have played 3 of what are probably the top 5 defenses. We've already played 3 of the top 5, and we've won.
Right. And a lot of people are complaining about the offense, but they kind of forget that fact. We do have somewhat of an uphill battle, but it could start getting easier too, because we're going to come across some teams that don't have quite the defense that we've come across so far.
And we better be able to beat them handily. Yeah. And it was just a year ago we were raving about the offense and talking bad about the defense. So, they take turns. Last year Aaron Rodgers and the offense carried the team. Now the defense is taking their turn carrying the team. But hey, 3-0. And if we can be 4-0 after, playing the Eagles Thursday night, heading into Dallas, where Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl and has won a couple other games since, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yes.
Hey, what's going on, Wayne and Scott? It's Miguel in Phoenix, Arizona. Go Pack, go! Go Pack, go! It's awesome to see our team win another game, start the season 3-0. Welcome, Scott, to the podcast. Man, just so excited for this season, and just the way this game turned out, having the Packers win by more than 10, and also having the defense close out the game. It's something I've been thinking about lately is, the year, it's been years since we've won the Super Bowl or went to the Super Bowl, but when we did, we had an awesome defense. Aaron Rodgers was great. but he really hadn't turned into the Aaron Rodgers that we know today. But that year we had an awesome defense, and I think more often than not, when you see a team that goes to the Super Bowl and wins the whole thing, you know, they have an awesome defense. So I'm super excited for the season. I'm excited to listen to your guys' next episode, and we're just getting ready to record our own podcast. So we'll definitely be talking about the Packers win this week. So go Pack, go! Have a great week, guys. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, Miguel, for checking in again this season. Always great to hear from you. Miguel does the Opposites Attract podcast with his wife. They've got a brand new podcast studio this week. So, yeah, definitely going to be checking out your episode again this week. And always good to hear you talk a little bit about the Packers there as well. Great Go Pack Goes at the beginning. And excellent point about our defense closing out games because, you know, we didn't have to sweat too much in the second half, but it was always closer than I liked. But when it came down to it, our defense wearing the blue and yellow just shut things down.
Well, what's interesting is, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I was not able to watch this game live, but I've got a group of friends that we have a text chat conversation going in. It's a bunch of Packer fans from across the country, like even in New Jersey, if you'd believe it. Shout out to those guys if you're listening. We actually don't have like an official group name, but we chat every single Sunday. It's fantastic. And I'm getting these updates about, man, this offense is looking really rough, and we got to really get it together, and this is happening, and so I just flip over, look at the score, and I'm like, but guys, we're winning. We've got 27 points, and you're complaining about the offense. And as I believe it was Mark in the previous one mentioned, a lot of that has to do with the defense, but still somebody's got to put it in the end zone. So, also Miguel, I just got to tell you, dude, drop the name of your podcast in your voicemail, man. It's okay. We'll pimp your name for you, so don't feel like you can't do that.
Absolutely. Anybody, if you've got a show or something like that, include that in your voicemail. Let's check in right here in Southern California and see what's happening with Andre in LA.
Go Pack, go! Go Pack, go! Andre in LA, 3-0. Yes. I waited till the end of the game this week to call, so I could, not jinx this and whatnot. I really liked a lot of what I saw from the defense today, very opportunistic. The run defense, I'm not really sure what we can do about that because you got to give a little on one, and they did seem to tighten in the red zone, which I'm very appreciative of. The offense seems to still be working the kinks out, but I like that it's very balanced, and a lot of the play calling does seem to be very creative. I also like that in the fourth quarter, Matt LaFleur went conservative with instead of trying to force a first down, they went with, let's just get in better field goal range to make it a 2-possession game. I really like that play call. I really look forward to hearing what you guys got to say about the game, but we're looking good, 3-0. I believe we play Thursday night. Can't wait for that game. Andre in LA, green and gold until I'm dead and cold.
I agree with you, Andre, on the play calling, although I find it interesting that people are applauding that because if McCarthy had done that, I feel like everybody would have been up in arms like, no, man, go for the score. But I like the fundamental and just getting those 3 extra tacked on just to ensure. I dug it. So 3-0. I love hearing 3-0. If you haven't said that in a long time.
It has been quite a while. I believe the 2015 season, last time we started 3-0.
Oof. Yeah.
And I thought it was longer ago than that. But
it feels longer than that.
It really does. Andre, thanks again for checking in, and your Go Pack Goes, and your 3-0, and of course, bleed green and gold till dead and cold. There's a lot of things, a lot of slogans to keep track of. I love it.
I know, right?
We got an email this week from Steven checking in from Palos Park, Illinois, near Chicago. So Broncos coach Vic Fangio must be wondering if he made the right decision to leave the Bears for his first head coaching job ever, since he is 0-3 as the Broncos head coach. It's young, it's early, and the Broncos, they did better than I thought they would, Scott.
Yeah, I agree. I was hoping it was a bit more of a blowout, but I was kind of expecting like you were.
Yeah, maybe Thursday. The Packers did win 27-16, the first time this season they have won by 10 or more points. Thank goodness.
Yes, finally.
And that's a great point right there. The Packers have already won half our win total from last season already, and it's only the first month of the season. And that's an encouraging thought, Stephen, because, the fact that we've already made it halfway to where we were last year speaks volumes. And Stephen wonders if anybody else besides himself is also a member of the Packers Perks program, which you can find out about at packersperks.com. I have not heard of that at all.
I hadn't either, but we did a little research, and it's, again, packersperks.com. It's a new official rewards program presented by Quick Trip. If you're from Wisconsin or the Midwest, you probably know what that place is. It's a free loyalty program which allows fans to earn points for a variety of activities which can be used to redeem unique Packers prizes and exclusive fan experiences. Fans who sign up for Packers Perks can also earn points for reading articles and viewing photos and videos on Packers.com, connecting their social media accounts to the Packers Perks platform, participating in Packers Perks quizzes, using hashtag GoPackGo on Twitter, and even logging into their account daily.
That sounds awesome. And I can certainly do the hashtag GoPackGo on all my Twitter posts and things like that. But that is fantastic that it's actually an official Packers program presented by Quick Trip. But, I've got, programs for some of the fast food places I eat at and things like that, but I had no idea the Packers had one. So check it out, ladies and gentlemen, packersperks.com. That's pretty cool. Thanks, Stephen.
It is pretty cool.
And Stephen continues, after the Eagles game, the Packers will have 10 days off again before their next game. But if you're not a fan of the Packers playing on Thursday nights, at least this is the final Thursday night game this season for the Packers. And that makes me very thankful that, unlike Sunday night football, Thursday night football does not have the opportunity to try to flex games. Yeah,
exactly. I hate how late the games are, man. I know that you're on the West Coast, and it's nice 5:20 in the afternoon or in the early evening. Right. 7:20 for us. For those of us that get up at 4:00 in the morning and refuse to go to bed before the game's over. It's going to be a long day on Friday, regardless of the standings. But
I totally agree. But at the same time, I feel for our friends in the UK and Europe and Australia that they've really got a late night ahead if they want to stay till the very end. But if the Packers make it exciting enough and win big enough, you seem a little less tired the next day.
It does help.
No matter
Putting
how
on that
much,
Packers tie, you know what I'm saying?
Keep that thing handy. You're going to need it Friday morning. And
I hope so.
Stephen is wondering, Scott, do you have a favorite Culver's when you go to Wisconsin?
It's funny you say that, Stephen. I actually do have a favorite Culver's. I head up to the Wisconsin Dells area quite often with my wife and some friends, and there's one in Edgerton, Wisconsin that is literally the world's largest Culver's. It's a massive Culver's, and we make a point of stopping at that one on the way up to the Dells whenever we go there. So, yeah, good question.
So you're from the Rockford area, and you go to the Dells. I guess that must be pretty close because, of course, the fantastic rock band Cheap Trick is from Rockford, and they got their start doing a lot of shows up in the Wisconsin Dells area.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But you're just following in Cheap Trick's footsteps. I bet they went to Culver's as well.
Hopefully I get the success they did. We've also got an email from the Fisher family who say, hey, Wayne and Scott, Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Just wanted to say that our defense really came to play against the Broncos. 6 sacks with the Smith brothers and company. It's starting to look like the old Green Bay Packers playing, even though we had a few problems with protection. We are loving our Packers. Go Pack, go, and bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Thank you so much, the Fisher family. Love that email.
Yeah, thanks for sending that in. And Smith brothers and company. I love it. Keep it up, defense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, remember, friends, the deadline to get your voicemails and emails in to be part of the podcast will be Sundays at 11 p.m. Central. Of course, with the game being Thursday night, no need to wait till Sunday to get your feedback in. But thanks for your support, your feedback, and go Pack Go. Let's check in with the weekly Twitter and Facebook polls. How well will the Packers play after a short week hosting the Eagles this Thursday night? And I want to thank you in advance for your votes. 55% of the voters say the defense will save our bacon again, even if you've never heard of that phrase, Scott.
I haven't. I was going to give you a hard time, but you beat me to it.
Just trying to head that off at the pass. So 55% say it's going to be the same old, but of course that means same old means victory. 38% of the voters says our offense will be on fire. That I'd like to see.
Yeah, me too.
And somehow trolls or people that have a defeatist attitude, 7% of the voters say our offense and defense will be quite surprised by Philly.
I love the people who have like a legit possibility that we could lose this game are trolls in your mind. That cracks me up. Like, who could dare think they could lose a game? First game of the season, I called us losing. I thought you were going to kick me off the show, man.
But now I'm just thinking, we're undefeated, and the Eagles, they lost to the Lions, okay? That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, they are in second place, but we'll get to that later. There was a fun comment from Janelle who said, I choose the offensive answer just because I feel the need to will it into being. I know it's a new scheme, and I'm sure that's the part that's killing us on offense, but it's so frustrating. We finally have an amazing defense, and now the offense looks rusty, annoying. Yeah, I can't agree more.
Yeah, well put, Janelle, and I love the positive thinking of willing it into existence. Let's see that take place Thursday night, because the 3-0 Green Bay Packers are quite fortunate on this short week to have their next game again at Lambeau Field. They host the 1-2 Philadelphia Eagles Thursday, September 26th at 7:20 p.m. Central, 5:20 for us here in Southern California and the West Coast. The Eagles come into Green Bay with Brett Favre's former backup quarterback Doug Peterson as their Super Bowl winning head coach. So I don't think we should forget the fact that they did recently win a Super Bowl by beating the Patriots. Thank you. I'm ever in their debt. The Eagles almost beat the second place in the NFC North Lions the other day, but almost. All time in the series, Packers have the edge 26-14. That might even be the score this week. Who knows?
Wouldn't that be something?
And although I personally don't care for the Thursday night games, I'm thankful we don't have Color Rush anymore. And at least the Packers have won 4 of the last 5 games they've played on Thursday night. Can I get a Go Pack Go?
Go Pack Go!
A couple new injuries, though, coming out of the win against the Broncos. Jimmy Graham is questionable at this point. Jake Kumaro is out. Montravius Adams is out. And whatever limited participants in practice, this part gets me nervous because the names on the limited participants list from the Packers, Kenny Clark, Blake Martinez, Aaron Jones, and Jamal Williams.
But like Sean Boyer in the podcast Facebook group says, LaFleur is weird about his injury reports. He puts everyone that has a bruise on it.
Well, that's
Coach's
a good point.
Decision, right?
Good point, Sean, and better safe than sorry. Those bruises, they can really slow you down. Game time weather Thursday night in Green Bay, cloudy but dry this time, supposedly anyway. Around 60 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 15.5 degrees Celsius for our friends that participate in the metric system. Great night to go 4-0 with a hearty Go Pack Go, in my opinion.
Man, I could not miss this game, Dr. Seuss.
Well played, 4th grade teacher. That was great. Had Dr. Seuss, same birthday as me.
Oh, really? Fun fact. We're going to go ahead and move on and talk about the keys to a 4th Packers victory. First off, I think the offense really needs to click. Although the Broncos didn't scare me too much, the Eagles could be a force to be reckoned with. And as good as J.K. Scott is as our punter, I don't want to see him on 4th down as often this game for sure. And just like last week, don't underestimate the Eagles. As you mentioned, they almost beat the Lions. And even though the Lions are our current rival, it doesn't mean they're quite the formidable force that comes with that ranking. But with that said, the Pack shouldn't let the 3-0 allow them to rest on their laurels at all. This is our last home game of 3 before hitting the road, and it would be beautiful to hit the hat trick for the hometown crowd. And lastly, I say it every week, but the defense, it feels so good to see this defense trucking forward, and I want to see them keep that momentum going. Carson Wentz is a solid quarterback, and even though he is on my fantasy team, I'd still like to see him planted on the turf 6 times.
Now that's saying something.
Mm-hmm.
He's on your fantasy team, but the fact that you're a Packers fan, that takes precedence.
Well, you see, I got Jameis Winston on the bench, so I could technically put him in there, but he's so inconsistent. He had a great week this week. I've decided every time I pick between the two of them this season, I always pick wrong. So I might as well just pick wrong and not cheer for Wentz because I don't want him to do well.
Well, how about this? Even though he's on your fantasy team and he gets sacked at least 6 times, the Packers win big, and your fantasy team also wins big. It's a double win for Scott Clark.
As long as I win, man, but I need those points.
Well, with that, let's check in with our crazy game predictions. You, sir, have been on quite a roll. The final score, of course, just the other day was Packers 27, Broncos 16. You were closest to the correct score again by picking Packers 27, right on with that, and Broncos 20. I was going with Packers 28, Broncos 11, but you win again. I think the math proves it.
Yeah, I only missed 4 points this time because I got the Packers score exactly right. I feel like I should predict about 48 points or something this week just to see what happens.
So that you can will that into existence.
Yeah, get that positivity that we got from, was it Janelle?
Yes, Janelle.
Up above, yeah.
Well, I'm going to be paying very close attention to your prediction this week then. How do you see this one shaking out?
I think it's going to be a lot closer than everybody thinks it's going to be. I'm going to go 20 for the Packers and 17 for the Eagles.
2017, people. Can Scott make it a trifecta as well? He wins all the ones that are at Lambeau Field. We'll have to wait and see. And I do see us getting more points this week, and I do think the Eagles are going to get more points. I see Packers 30, Eagles 21. So,
all right.
Although I think our offense is going to click a bit more, and even a couple more field goals from Mason Crosby, we're only going to win by 9, so that's less of a margin of victory than last week. But a win is a win, and I'll take it. Packers 30, Eagles 21.
Speaking of our kicker, our field goal kicker, you rarely see him without his helmet on, and he was on the sidelines with this, or with his helmet off. Excuse me. He had it off on the sidelines. That dude is graying up. Have you noticed that? Every time I see him, I feel like he's aging 5 years every season.
I don't think it's him that's aging so much as just his gray hair.
Yeah, it's not the rest of his body. He's turning into Betty White all of a sudden.
I hope that when I go all the way gray, that it is a great shade of gray like what he has, though. That's some good-looking gray.
Well, the good news is that he is turning gray, because the reason your hair turns gray is, you may not know this, but as you get older, the hair grows deeper into your skull. If it hits gray matter, it turns gray. If it hits nothing, it falls out. Science, ladies and gentlemen, science. That's not actually accurate. I was just making a joke. In case your students were listening. Right. I do think, though, he did age a little bit early in the game after a kickoff, and he just got hammered by one of the Broncos. I couldn't believe. I know that, in those types of plays, it's legal and legit, but it was excessive. Nobody needs to hit any other player quite that hard. He was lambasted. And then, of course, later in the game, he did miss that one kick, but we won, so we'll take that. And speaking of winning, I am up 2-1 in our little crazy game prediction. So you got to bring it this week, man. Absolutely. That's why I'm thinking Packers 30, Eagles 21. All right. We'll see what happens. We also got some great feedback in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group, which you can find and join at packerscommunity.com. First up, Peter Allison. He said, we scored more points each week against 3 good defenses, made mistakes across the board. The defense is just a machine, but couldn't tackle or stop the run, but made turnovers like a dang baker. Now I'm hungry for turnovers. Thanks for that. Some players are just shining across the board. Martinez, Alexander the Great, the Smiths, J.K. Scott. I'd say the only real downside at the moment is Jimmy Graham, whose contribution today amounted to a 10-yard penalty. On we go, Pack, go to the Eagles, and judging by what the Lions have done, I'm expecting a much better performance from the offense. I sure hope so. I'm just not quite as optimistic as you guys are. I just keep seeing a lot of shaky stuff, but let's make it happen. We've also got one from Sir Troy Heinrichs, who says, one drive stalled because Aaron overthrows, another because receivers can't hang onto the ball, a TD because we can't tackle in first contact. A win is a win, but the fundamentals were lacking in this contest, and I agree 100%. Got to get back to basics. That's what we loved about Rodgers when he first joined the team however many years ago. He was a fundamental quarterback, not doing things crazy. Let's get back to basics. And superfan Aaron Peterson says, you've got to respect our defense. They're giving us tons of chances. No doubt. They certainly are, and we'll take them. Definitely take him. Jared Michini-Kerr, I apologize if I mispronounced your name, but Jared says, talking point, we start really strong, our opponent adjusts, and we are then failing to adjust to their adjustments? Question mark? I Ron Burgundy that, I think.
Perfect. I think that's a fair point because, again, this week, we didn't start quite as strong as the previous game, but we did come out pretty strong. And I don't know if it's a case of Denver adjusting and then we didn't adjust to their adjustments. Do you think that might have been what happened, Scott?
It very well could be, because look what happened with Minnesota. We came out with 3 touchdowns and they adjusted and we just kept doing what we were doing and came close to losing that game. So he makes a fair point.
And Matt Haig, here's something interesting. We won Super Bowls in 1996 and 2010. During these seasons, our defense allowed 210 and 200 points, respectively, which are the lowest points since 1982. In 2019, we are allowing just over 11 points per game. If we keep up this trend, we will allow approximately 187 points, which is the lowest since 1966, where we had 163 points allowed. That's when we won 2 Super Bowls and a championship in a row.
I think Matt has access to the same stat database that the NFL announcers do, because how did we come up with that? Holy cow.
But that is fantastic. With that in mind, I'm starting to smell that Super Bowl already, Matt. Of course.
You're getting a little eager there, man. Come on.
Okay, I got to calm myself down. Matt says, I should caveat this by saying I'm not sure if these point totals include postseason, but for comparison, last year we allowed 400 points against, and we did not make the playoffs.
There's something to be said with those numbers then, for sure. Also, be sure to check out even more conversations happening in our Facebook group, PackersCommunity.com. More great conversations and articles, including Jared's Game Day Poetry. You're not going to want to miss that. There's a link to an SB Nation article with the semi-clickbaity title of Matt LaFleur's Packers offense sure looks a lot like Mike McCarthy's, at least early on. Lots of good conversations happening with that in the comments. Your thoughts also about the Packers wearing alternate jerseys and more, all at PackersCommunity.com, which is also awaiting your posts and comments.
And taking just a brief look around the rest of the NFL, one thing that stood out to me after week 3 is that the Patriots are sure fortunate to be in the worst overall division in the entire NFL. It's practically 5 or 6 guaranteed wins right there.
Yeah, I mean, their first 3 games of the season have been arguably some of the worst teams in the NFL right now. And, I mean, they've dominated for good reason, but, you know, I'm waiting for them to play a better team. Yeah. And somebody please knock them off their pedestal.
And I'm not sure if they play the Chiefs this season, but the Chiefs could be that team because watching their highlights, I'm like, whoa, wow, am I right?
Yeah, it could very well be the Chiefs in the playoffs for sure.
Against the Packers in the Super Bowl. Who knows?
Let's do it. Let's do it. Also, if you love to play video games as much as I do, please be sure to check out my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider, which can be heard at the same place as you listen to this one. We just finished hosting our first video game convention called R2V2 this past weekend. It was outstanding. Had some great guests, met a lot of listeners, met a lot of really cool people, and just had an overall outstanding time. But if you'd like to check out our website, it is thegamingoutsider.com.
And a couple of listeners posted in the Facebook community group that they saw you on television the other morning.
Yes, I actually haven't seen it yet, but we had 2 news stations at the event covering what we were doing and actually interviewed us. There's a couple newspapers there. So the name is definitely getting out there. And, man, we had 450 people coming through the door with paid tickets.
Wow. Well done.
So it was fantastic event, and it's only going to go up from here. We're already looking to plan for next year and looking at guests and trying to talk people into coming to the Rockford area to do this all over again next year.
That is fantastic, Scott. Well done to you and the team. I know that you were coming down with a cold or something last Monday, and looking forward to everything you had to do for the conference. How are you doing now?
I am exhausted, Wayne. I haven't been this tired in a long time because it wasn't just one day. It was one day of prep, one day of running the event, and one day of spending time with the guests and getting them back to their appropriate places. And I've not slept a lot, so I'm looking forward to doing that tonight. Yes.
And for me, season 2 of Stephen King's Castle Rock on Hulu is less than a month away. Of course, Halloween, October, perfect time for Castle Rock. If you haven't watched season 1 of Castle Rock yet on Hulu, I recommend you signing up for Hulu, binging Castle Rock. It was a really, really strong first season. Of course, that way you get ready for season 2 and continuing to get ready by listening to my Castle Rock Zone podcast with Jeff Gentry at castlerockzone.com.
Thank you so much for financially supporting your Packers Fan Podcast via Patreon at patreon.com/Packers Fan Podcast. You get value for value over there, and want to give some special thanks and shout outs. First off, listener Bryant, channeling Packers legend Willie Wood by supporting the show at the $24 monthly level. Also, how about those Texas-only Green Bay Packers fanatics and their Facebook group and their $12 a month pledge level in honor of Aaron Rodgers? Fantastic.
We've also got some great Brett Favre $4 a month supporters, Lawrence Harvey, Jeff Summerfield, and the support dedicated to lifelong Packer backer Randy Westgame of Wausau. And, of course, we've got Hardy Go Pack Goes going out to the Curly Lambeau $1 a month supporters, Aaron Peterson from the Hollywood Outsider, Hank Davis from the TPE network of podcasts, and Matt Haig. Thank you very much, and Go Pack Go.
Check out how you too can financially support the podcast and have some fun at a level to match your budget by visiting patreon.com/Packers Fan Podcast. Thanks so much, and go, Pack, go. The Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but we are definitely open to it. If you're interested, please contact us at media@PackersFanPodcast.com.
And be sure to follow us on Twitter at PackersFanPod. Follow Scott on Twitter at GoCastScott. Follow me on Twitter at Wayne Henderson. And please join our Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community at PackersCommunity.com and join the conversation.
And we really want you to be a part of the next episode. You heard some voicemails. You heard some emails. Just get your feedback in by Sunday night at 11 p.m. Central. Go to PackersFanPodcast.com and click the Contact Us button for details. Thank you so much for joining us again on your Packers Fan Podcast.
It's been a pleasure. Be sure to subscribe in Apple Podcasts or on the podcast player of your choice. Don't miss an episode. The season is getting underway, and it's going to be a lot of fun from here on out. So let's have our friends at the Texas-only Green Bay Packers Fanatics group take us out and get us ready for Thursday night.
This is Dawn down here in Texas, a.k.a. Granny Cheese.
Hi, I'm James.
Hi, I'm Kim.
Hi, I'm Melissa.
Hi, I'm Susan.
Hi, I'm Carrie.
Hi, I'm Lisa Montgomery, and we want to say,
Go Pack Go!